Budget advisor Brian Watt joins us with some tips on how to keep those utility costs down. Welcome, good morning. Now, what is it, what kind of issues do people have in the winter when they come to see you?
I think the biggest issue is probably that they have additional costs they don't allow for. The obvious one being the cost of heating. And they get the bills and they tend to panic that they're high.
They freak
but
out,
there are other costs that come along too that we're not aware of. You may have extra car running costs because you're taking the kids to school or to the bus because it's raining, and you use your car yourself a little extra because of the weather. We also get caught with unexpected doctor's bills with flus and all that sort of stuff over the winter.
So it's all about planning in advance for this
yeah,
sort
but
of
they
stuff.
don't plan. People are human enough not to plan for that. Surprisingly, food bills go up in the winter, particularly if you've got kids. They eat more in the winter, and your clothing bills can go up if you've got growing kids, and the winter jackets are got a little small, so you've got to get yours. So there are those sorts of costs. Now, what happens is the family gets hit with those bills, and in my experience. Mum juggles the bills so that she can pay them, and she does without herself so that the family can be looked after. And so Mum misses out as a rule.
But what if you don't want Mum to miss out? And what about, you know, heating and things like that in the house? What is your most cost-effective heating for your house?
Well, I'm not sure that there is such a thing as cost-effective heating. All heating is expensive. All heating is expensive. If you're into heaters, the cheapest option may be a fan heater, an electric heater.
Oh, that's interesting, because I thought that would have been one of the most expensive ones.
Well, they're not really, because they're pushing the heat out more than the bar heaters. The oil standalone heaters with the gas bottle, they're an option. The advantage of them are that you pay for the gas prior to using it, so you don't get caught with a bill. So that's a bit helpful. But they're still dear. It's costing you about $21, I think, to fill a bottle nowadays.
And how long would that last you, one of those?
Well, obviously it depends on usage, but many of the people that come to me use them once a week. In fact, I was floored the other day when someone came in and said they were filling them twice a week. Which becomes a real expense.
Yeah.
That's a real expense.
Now, what about if you're using electricity to heat, like with your fan heater? What can your power company, what can you do and talk to your power company to actually make sure that you don't have this huge bill in the winter? Well,
you can. Power companies are very good in that they can give you a historical data on your usage, so that you're able to, over 12 months, divide it by 12 and say that it's going to cost so much per month, and then you can set up an AP and pay that.
So you can pay for that amount, like all your winter, is sort of stretched over summer as well.
So in the summer you get into credit and you get slowly back into debit. It's interesting that if you have a direct credit with the power companies, they're more unlikely to disconnect you than if you get behind. But one of the other things you need to know about power companies is if you're in trouble and you get into arrears, you need to talk to them. And what they'll do is they'll help you make an arrangement, a financial arrangement, to pay it off. The downside of that is it's got to be a viable arrangement. If you welsh on it, they're very quick to turn your power off, and then you're in a bit of trouble. What
are some other ways in the house you can keep the heat in? Some little tips there.
Well, they're pretty basic things. You've got to try and cut out all the drafts, so you do that by making door sausages, which is a nylon sock, and you just fill it with, say, sawdust or dry sand or paper or cloth, and use that to insulate the bottom of the door. You can buy foam strips from hardware that you can put around the windows, and and they're adhesive on the side, and you just stick them around the outside, and when you close the window, that makes it airtight. And that, the other thing is, you should wear adequate clothing when you're running around inside. and don't wander around in bare feet, you know, have slippers on. And if you've got a head like mine, you wear a beanie so that you don't lose all the heat through your head. So you've got to be out.
Is that what you do at home, walk around with a beanie on?
That's what I do at home. I walk around with a beanie, yeah.
Now, there's some people, you know, turn their ovens on to heat the house. Is that a good idea?
No, I don't think so. Ovens are built to cook, and whereas heaters are built to heat, and they have a reflector on them so that it reflects the heat out. So you're using the same sort of power, it's costing you the same, but it's not as cost effective.
And now, what about tips on drying clothes in the winter? Now, this is, you're saying not to use a dryer. How else do you keep your clothes dry?
Well, you wouldn't use a dryer. When clients come to me and they have a high electricity bill, the first question I'll ask is, do you have a dryer? And if the answer is yes, I'll tell them to turn it off. And in fact, even as young people, we were given a dryer, and we had enough sense then to put it in the garage and use it as a storage area. But your alternatives are your clothes lining outside, obviously. But clothes horses inside are handy. And even at night, if you put clothes over a
one of those
stands,
yeah.
At night in a room that's been heated during the day, he gets a bit of heat. The old standby of putting a line in the garage and opening both doors so the wind blows through, and that'll dry them, and same with your carports.
Now, you know what you're talking about because you've had 16 children, haven't you? So that must have been some major budgeting through the winter.
I didn't have them personally, but yes.
So your wife was a good budgeter then? Both of you?
Is and was, not me.
Yeah.
She was, is and was, yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic. Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah. Well, thanks for those tips.
Thank you.
Nice to have you on the show.
Thank you very much.